So it's important to recognize that there are actually many different ways to deal with this. So the strategy that I'm showing you is really just keeping track of times and divide. Again, this simplifies things. It's either got to be times on top or divide on bottom. So here I have a to the power of -3. Make sure that you recognize that the 2 is not part of the base a, so that -3 doesn't affect the 2. And negative power means divide, so I'm going to keep the 2 up top there. And I have my a squared b squared here, and this a cubed I'm going to put here as a cubed. Okay, so that negative means I'm dividing by a 3 times. So if I put 3 a's in the denominator, it means the same thing. So the b means I'm going to divide by b 4 times. So if I put b in the denominator 4 times, that means the same thing. So this b ends up here. And since these are all just divides, I'm going to put them together. So I'm dividing by a 5 times, dividing by b 6 times, and that's my answer. Again, it's probably easier to work inside out, although we could use some distribution here to help us to work from outside in, but typically it's easier to work from inside out. Here I have divide by a 3 times, and this is divide by a 3 times as well. Well, these don't cancel out. Okay? Although that's negative and positive, they don't cancel out because this is divide and this is also divide, so really it's just going to count more divides. So first of all, I'm just going to make sure I keep track of my outside. That's going to be a cubed with 3 more divides. And I'll just kind of highlight that. That divide ended up here. And on the top, I started out with b squared, and I have 2 divide, so that's a divide here. That's the negative power means divide, so negative power in the denominator really means times. So I'm going to bring that up as times by b twice. So this negative became positive in the numerator. Now everything's in the right spot. I can just count up my multiplications. I can count up my divides. And then I can apply the power 4 on the outside. I'm going to do b to the 4 times b to the 4. That's going to do 4 to groups of 4, which is 16. On the bottom, I'm going to divide by 6a, 6a. I'm going to do that 4 times. So that's going to end up being 24. So I can multiply 4 times 4. 4 groups of 6 is 4 times 6. Okay, so there's my answer. And I cannot do anything with the powers together here because these are different bases. This is getting a little bit more complicated. These ones I would consider to be very high level problems in that we have started dealing with embedded fractions and we have lots of negative exponents in there. But again, if we can keep track of what is times and what is divide, it makes things a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to put that b squared, or divide by b twice, in the denominator. And I'm going to do 2 things in this step. I'm going to also deal with this divide in the denominator. Well, there's a couple ways I can deal with this divide in the denominator. I can put this into the numerator as times, or I can do the reciprocal and flip this fraction. So there's 2 ways to do it. And maybe I'll show both ways. So I'm going to flip this fraction by using that divide. So I'm going to end up with 3a squared b negative 2, a4 b5. So I can use that divide to flip the fraction. Okay, an alternative, and I'll do this in a different color, an alternative would be do the same thing, but now I'm going to take that divide and make it multiplication. I didn't flip the fraction. Okay, all I did was make it times. Okay, so instead of times and divide in the denominator, I made it times. Okay, so what can I do here? Well, I can simplify this a little bit. Okay, how should we do it? Let's simplify inside the brackets first. And again, there's many different ways to do this. Okay, but I'm going to simplify the a's, so that have more a's on the bottom. Here, this divide by b should end up in the bottom as well, so it can divide by b 7 times. Okay, I can deal with the denominator still. I know that times by b twice, divide by b 7 times is going to give me divide by b 5 times. Here I can figure out what's times and divide. That's times by a. The 3 is divide by 3. The a squared is under 2 divisions. Divide by a. That really means multiply. So I'm just going to maybe highlight that. So it's going to end up as multiply on the top. Okay, so that becomes multiply on the top. And I can make the same analysis with b. The b5 is divide here, and I'm dividing again, so I have divide. So that b5 really means times. So it's going to go up top in the numerator. Okay, so that came from here. And then I just simplify that out, or combine the sum of the a's, so a cubed, b5, and divide by 3. So that's using that strategy of flipping that fraction. Here, instead of flipping the fraction, I use the divide and divide and put it in its times on top. So I'm just going to work out the top, a5, b5, on the bottom, 3a squared, b squared, and then times b negative 2. Well, that's times in the denominator. That's divide in the denominator. Times and divide cancel out. So that's b to the power 0. That's just 1. We can simplify power 5, power 2. We end up with a cubed, b5. Okay, that ends up being just 3 in the denominator. So these are the same answer.